Iran is under attack from Israel. Missiles are slamming into military sites across the country, and its so-called ally, Russia, well, it's silent. No reinforcements, no condemnations, not even a tweet. It's like Putin vanished the moment things got messy. Oh, he's never done that before. This isn't just awkward, it's strategic, because while Iran, or specifically the Islamic Republic regime, burns, Russia profits, and well, the world continues to shift. So in today's video, I wanted to explore particularly why Russia, of all countries affected by the Israel-Iran war, is nowhere to be seen, and specifically why, in Tehran's most desperate hour, it really does illustrate much more than you might think.
This is The Global Gambit.
How you going, everybody? Piotr Curzon here. This is a channel where we break down, well, geopolitical tendencies and macroeconomics. I hold a master's degree in international strategic studies and economics from Johns Hopkins SAIS, having worked in the UN, World Bank, and more. And we're unpacking the, well, major geopolitical plot twist. Well, supposedly Iran's BFF, if you want to call it that, Russia is just, well, it's just standing there. It's not doing anything. Why is Moscow leaving Tehran out to dry? Is there a strategic master move or a sign Russia is stretched too thinly? Is Putin the master strategist we've always been told he is, or is he simply unsure just how far he can actually commit to the long-standing anti-American axis that he so likes to push? Stick around as we dive into the messy world of, well, Middle Eastern power plays, and if you love untangling global drama like this, then do hit that subscribe button and share your perspectives in the comments. I do read them all. Now, to understand the Iran-Russia relationship, you have to look at where it came from. They've been tight for years, united by a particularly shared goal, sticking it to the West, or more specifically, the NATO and US-led order. Now, Iran and Russia love to call each other strategic partnerships. I have a video about alliances, partnerships, and all that, which you should watch. But let's be honest, it's more like frenemies with benefits. In recent years, naturally, they've drawn closer. Military drills, arm deals, satellite tech, well, the infamous Shahed drones Russia relies on for its continued attacks across Ukraine. Russia returns the favour with air defences and diplomatic cover at the United Nations. On paper, they look like brothers in arms against the West. But underneath the surface, and the pattern's far older and colder, Russia has a long history of, well, ghosting the Iranians, especially when it matters most. For example, in 1946, Stalin supported a separatist uprising in northern Iran, specifically the Azerbaijani Iranians, then bailed under United States pressure. In the 90s, Moscow cancelled armed deliveries to Tehran to please Washington. And during the Syrian war, Russia let Israeli jets bomb Iranian positions in Syria hundreds of times, even allowing them to use airspace that they controlled. So when Russia stays silent, as Iran bombs Iran directly, it's not a betrayal. It's really more tradition. One Tehran keeps pretending is, well, more of a misunderstanding. Think of them, therefore, as this sort of ultimate anti-NATO duo in principle, but actually not really when you give a bit of a reality check. When Israel started raining missiles on Iran in April 2024 and October, Russia didn't send fighter jets, advanced air defences, or even a strongly worded letter. Being British, I would know about those. It's like Iran called for backup and Russia just left them on red on WhatsApp, or perhaps its Signal group. So what's going on? Is this partnership all talk, or is there Putin playing a deeper game, at least in this case, which is a particularly unique one? Now, whether you support Israel or Iran, it cannot be denied that the Israelis are making headway in terms of their control and influence across the Iranian regime and airspace. Their attacks have crippled Iranian's missile production, shredded its air defences, including Russia's made S-300 systems, which have allowed it for many years, and taken out its top military brass. Iran has tried hitting back with direct strikes, but those attacks, well, they have been largely flops and inconsistent. Missile barrages consisting of, well, only 3 in one wave. Minimal damage, maximum embarrassment. And then you have to consider the context as well. Iran has lost one of its most important partners, Syria, which was also a huge bedrock for the Russian activities as well. This was a wake-up call to Moscow more broadly. It was not exactly rushing in to save Syria, and certainly, well, it's not doing anything in the face of Iran. Indeed, Iran looks weaker not even by the day, but by the hour. And Russia, particularly Putin, has a choice. Double down on its ally or cut its losses. Spoiler alert, they're leaning towards the exit. Israel has even claimed freedom of movement in Iran's skies at this point, which is military speak for we can strike wherever and whenever we want. So why isn't Russia stepping up to help its partner? Let's peel back those layers. Right now, Moscow has, unsurprisingly, a lot on its plate, and Iran's not top of that menu. First, and unsurprisingly, the war in Ukraine is a massive drain. Every tank, jet, missile sent to Iran is one less for Putin's fight closer to home. Equally one that he, well, is not exactly doing as he intended to do. Moscow's already stretched thin, and they're not about to risk their own war effort for Tehran's sake, or specifically the regime's survival. Second, Russia is sort of playing this balancing act. They've got a complicated but functional relationship with Israel, dating back decades. Putin has also been cozying up to the Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, who are not fans of a stronger Iran, that's for sure. They have been very active in pressuring in OPEC Plus over oil. These countries help Russia dodge Western sanctions indeed, and they keep those oil prices high through that OPEC coordination. If Russia arms Iran with advanced weapons, it risks alienating these key partners, and any income that it makes from the oil prices because of the instability between Israel and Iran is offset by what could happen with its relations and the Gulf states. Then, of course, there is the nuclear angle. Russia does not want Iran to go nuclear. A nuclear Iran would be a wild card, harder to control, and a potential rival for even regional clout. Moscow takes US warnings about Iran's nuclear program seriously, which is why you saw Putin and Trump have a conversation less than 24 hours after Israel first started its campaign, especially when the consideration of American military action is possible. Putin's not going to roll the dice on that, no matter how good his own poker face may be. For example, analyst Nikita Smagin has put it bluntly, quote, saying, saving Iran isn't worth a clash with Israel or the United States. For Russia, it's cold, hard math, prioritizing own strategic interests over a struggling ally, which, well, really isn't even an ally. And then here's where it gets juicy. A prolonged Iran-Israel conflict, in some ways, tentatively, possibly, benefits Russia. I've already made a video about the weird ways in which Russia could be benefiting from this, though that was slightly more of an overplayed video for argument's sake. Now, first of all, those oil prices do spike, and that's a cash cow for the war chest in Moscow. But if Iran chooses to close the Strait of Hormuz, affect 20% of oil supply, well, Putin's dancing. Second, the fighting diverts US missile interceptors, a physical, tangible military impact for Ukraine. But it also has a symbolic and ideological impact, with global attention being redirected from Ukraine to the Middle East, giving Russia arguably some breathing space, although a lot of attention has still been on Moscow's targeting of civilian infrastructure in the past couple of days. Plus, if played correctly, Putin could come off as some arbitrary peacemaker. President Trump's push for a nuclear deal, well, if that crashes and burns with Iran, it makes the US look irresponsible, reckless, weak. Music to Putin's ears. Russia can offer to be a mediator, something Putin has already done. And Putin personally calling Trump, he can play to being an illustration that he's being proactive. Classic move. Play the diplomat, score points with Washington and the broader international community, and possibly stall or redirect focuses on Ukraine. Though, of course, with everything, there is a catch. Iran's humiliation isn't exactly a win for Russia. Israel's dominance exposes the limits of Moscow's influence and ability to intervene. A destabilized Iran will spark further chaos in, say, the South Caucasus, think Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, where Russia has interests, but has no bandwidth and has already illustrated no bandwidth, such as when Armenia activated the CSTO, or Collective Security Treaty Organization, of which Moscow did nothing to come to Armenia's aid against Azerbaijan. Russia's Middle East clout, therefore, takes yet another hit, just as it did 6 months ago in Syria. So we turn to the big picture and what could happen next. Iran is undeniably in a tough spot. Cornered, isolated, and distrustful, increasingly of everyone, including Moscow. If Tehran decides that it has no other option, it could quit the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, make the run for the bomb. And, well, that would expose just how little sway Moscow has, considering that they have offered to take Iran's enriched uranium and turn it into a civilian nuclear reactor. But that's a technical fix for a political mess. The US wants zero enrichment, and Iran effectively sees that as a surrender. Good luck bringing that. For now, Putin's keeping his distance, writing condemnation statements along with the Chinese, betting on diplomacy over firepower. But as we know in the case of, Ukraine and the West, that has little impact. Russia and Iran are still partners, united by this anti-Western vibe, but Moscow's not about to play the hero. As many people have said, including myself, Russia's influence in the Middle East is on a weakening trajectory after its peak in the wake of the United States' effective loss in Syria. But this conflict certainly isn't helping that, nor anybody. And so what happens if Iran's regime falls, or if the US does step in, which we're still waiting to see? Drop your predictions in the comments, and just why the Russian-Iranian relationship has its limitations. Because if you know anything about geopolitics, you know that realpolitik speaks volumes. If Russia's not Iran's knight in shining armor, it's more like a friend who goes to you when you're going and it's getting tough. Will Putin step in, or Iran is on its own? Let me know what you think, and as we say on the Global Gambit, we'll see you all next time, but do stay informed. Take care.